Welcome to the Notebook. I am Austin Ward. We are back again. This is round two. We're going to try it again. We're doing a Big Ten Media Days version, as you see right here. We're in Lucas Oil Stadium. Ryan Day is finishing up his podium session. It's been a long day for him, getting in about 9:30 this morning. You see the beat here. Ohio State draws a huge crowd. Michigan and Ohio State. And then right over there, Berm, if you follow me, wrapping up with Northwestern. So this is not the way it would normally work. We're out here on the turf. Was this about the 25-yard line? And you see a huge crowd for Northwestern. That's not normal. Normally this would be overflowing and spilling over to here and way back. Ryan Day's been on that podium for about 45 minutes. So we're wrapping that up. We're going to dive into what we heard from the Ohio State coach today, as well as Cade Stover, JT Tuimoloau, and Marvin Harrison Jr. It's been a pretty fun day. It's low key. There's not been a ton going on. You can see I probably need a new notebook as we start this year. The college football playoff one is falling apart. But all this stuff is winding down on day one. We'll start with some of the things that Ryan Day talked about. Everyone wanted to know about the quarterback battle. It's tight. That's what Ryan Day said. It's very tight. He said it was in a good way. You can have a bad situation with your quarterback battle with Devin Brown and Kyle McCord where neither one looks like they're ready for it. There's a feeling from Ohio State that they can't go wrong with either one. I don't think that's anything new for Ohio State fans. That situation hasn't changed much since spring football, but that's the way he views it. They're going to go into camp. They're going to take some opportunities for both guys to work with the ones. There is not a time frame for Ohio State to name a quarterback. What Ryan Day talked about more than anything else was wanting one to emerge. If that happens by the middle of August, that's what he wants. He would like to name a starting quarterback so they can get rolling. He referenced doing that with Justin Fields, doing that with C.J. Stroud, Dwayne Haskins taking control of that job. That's what you want. Will that happen? We'll see. There's a long way to go before that. Ohio State opens camp next Thursday. But more than anything else, what did Ryan Day get asked about at Big Ten Media Days? His quarterback situation. I think just when we were getting ready to wrap up with that session over there, Ryan Day started talking about the game and where the Ohio State-Michigan, the famed rivalry, the best rivalry in college football, where does it belong on the schedule? And you're going to see a ton of stories about Ryan Day saying that there needs to be a conversation about moving that game off the last week of the regular season. It was not necessarily him advocating for that to happen immediately, but he said that there have already been discussions about that and the value in an expanded playoff field and with the changes to the Big Ten championship format. Like last year would be a good example of that. If you already knew that the two teams would be playing each other in the championship without divisions, which would have been the case, they both would have had clinched a spot in there. Well, what would be the value of that regular season game? There would have been none. So would it be better moving that up to week 10 or 11 or really any other spot on the schedule? Traditionalists, I understand you don't want to move it. You want to put it on that spot forever. I definitely understand that. But there are these new factors at play where if you're going to go back-to-back or potentially even play three times, if both teams are ready to qualify for the college football playoff, how would you manage that? Does it preserve the importance of the rivalry if you actually move that up earlier in the schedule? I didn't think that would be one of the main takeaways from today, but to hear Ryan Day talk about it, he did not stake out a position one way or the other, just that it has to be something that is talked about. All right, so from there is some more of the normal stuff. I thought Ryan Day was incredibly relaxed at Big Ten Media Days. He has been throughout the summer. We talked to him earlier on the podcast, had a conversation with him, and I asked him about that. If you didn't see that, you can see that on the podcast YouTube channel or all the audio platforms where you're finding this right now. But I think that leads into another conversation that is being had about, here's our radio row setup, by the way. You can still see that people are out here working. They've been doing interviews out here, right there, grinding away. Winding down here on day one, there's still another day to go. But does this relaxed atmosphere, not needing to take so much day-to-day CEO, hands-on NIL stuff, does that influence his thinking at all when it comes to play calling? And it seems like it is. Tuck's coming right here. He's going to come on through as he's wont to do. That's how you operate Radio Row. You just come on, stroll through, and jump on the headset. Anyway, it does seem like Ryan Day is more open to the idea of maintaining some control. It's not a knock on Brian Hartline. He said Brian has done everything he needed to do to work up. This is the next step in his career. Gave him the offensive coordinator role. He can be a play caller, and he's going to be at some point. It may just not be a full-time deal. It may be a collaborative effort between those guys. We'll see exactly how that transpires. It's really no different as we stand here today in Indianapolis as we did at the end of spring. Ryan Day said they would continue to evaluate that and make a decision in camp, and they will. So that's going to be the way that goes. All right, so that's play calling. That's the next step. One of the most interesting things that I heard, there's Greg Schiano, former. How are you, Greg?
How are you, man? Good to see
How
you.
did Media Days treat you?
Good.
Good?
Yeah, how about you?
Well, I mean, we get one more day to go, so you get to bust out of here.
And trust me,
Your
about 15
next
minutes,
flight?
brother.
All right. That's Greg Schiano, Rutgers coach, former Ohio State defensive coordinator, another one of the celebrities. You see Joshua Perry just strolling around. Look at this suit, by the way. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, he's sneaking. You're not supposed to have food on the field. So what we have here is a little bit of rule breaking from Joshua Perry. Some rolled gold pretzels coming out here on the field. Boy, don't tell anybody. So let's take a look at this, Berm. How much do you like this setup? No, it's not great. Back in this corner over here, they had a DJ playing this morning. Why do we need a DJ at Big Ten Media Days? Not sure. We have a bunch of unhip guys like me walking around the field, not trying to turn it into a dance party in here. All right, here's somebody that you might recognize. Mike Bassford, the MVP of Ohio State Media Relations. Mike, how many interviews have you set up today?
71.
71 interviews that have occurred today. Cade Stover is almost done with his 71st interview.
Already done.
Already done. The Buckeyes are winding down. So back here, by these wonderful letters, you head into the tunnel. JT Tuimoloau coming through. He's hanging out in the players' lounge, I bet. It's the spot to be. They come back through here. When they get to escape for a couple minutes, there's an enclave. They won't let us into it. We're not players. But you come back through this tunnel. There's some media hospitality. Do we want to go back there, Berm, or we want to stay out here? All right, we'll go back there. Into the bowels of Lucas Oil Stadium. I was saying before we saw Greg Schiano and others that the name that came up, I think the most this afternoon that I was not surprised to hear necessarily, but there's Kirk Ferentz coming through. How are you, Coach? Good. Yes, so the Players Lounge is going to be back over here on the right. We will not get in there. Be cool to take a look, but we won't push our luck here. We can do that more at stadiums that we're more comfortable in. Beautiful scenery in here, right? This is just a cool place to hang out. Lovely walls. Doesn't make you feel like you're in an insane asylum at all. Kenyatta Jackson. That was my long-winded approach to that one. Ryan Day said, and I quote, looks like an NFL player right now. There was a conversation about the defensive line and Jim Knowles and scheme and year two and all that stuff. And he said what it ultimately is going to come down to is the production from the defensive line. If those guys control it, the expectation from Ryan Day is that they would be led by JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, Kenyatta Jackson, Caden Curry, and that he's hoping that they play the best players more. I know that that's a topic that nobody wants to hear me talk about anymore, so I will leave it at that. But there was some discussion from Ryan Day about paring down that rotation and letting the best players impact the field in key moments. We'll see what transpires. This is still just a July conversation, and obviously Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles and everybody else will be involved in making that decision when it actually matters in September. But it was something that I obviously wrote down in my notebook. All right. This, if you're wondering, is considered an auxiliary media workroom. Nobody works back here. The only thing they do is they eat. But guess what? There's no food. Guess what else? This cooler back here, incredibly well stocked. You have several hundred media members. They come here. They're going to promote your league. You make billions of dollars from CBS, NBC, Fox, BTN. Plenty of money to go around. you would think this was the scene. From about 10 on. Are you thirsty? Too bad. Too bad. You'll get nothing and like it. That's not just how it is at the end of the day. That's how it was all day. Eating our sandwich and chips, Berm and I at lunch. You want to wash that down with something cold? Nope. Tough luck. All right. Anything else from Ryan Day here that's worth getting into? No. The medical retirements he talked about, the scholarship situation for Ohio State. Avery Henry, we know the cancer battle that he's been through. Ohio State took players in the transfer portal in May and added to the roster knowing that there were going to be some medical hardships and medical retirements. So we've known this was coming. We'll leave it to the program and the players at their discretion when they want to make those announcements, with the roster having to be sort of locked in place for camp coming next week. Avery Henry and Grant Toutant have both been medically ruled out moving forward for Ohio State. So that puts the Buckeyes, by our count and by Ryan Day's count, at the limit. They are still looking at the potential of hosting, or they will host, a Northwestern linebacker to see how that works in the transfer portal. They're allowed to leave within 30 days because of their coach getting fired. So that is an option on the table there. There would have to be another move made in some form or fashion to accommodate that if they were to land his commitment and then put him on the roster on a scholarship. We'll see what transpires there. Thought by far, Marvin Harrison, who you saw walk by, best dressed of the day. He had the royal blue tie on. Everyone was asking him about the Colts and why he wore it and to honor his dad. I think he just liked the color. I mean, he was trying to downplay that side of it. Louis Vuitton shoes that, how much do you think those cost, Berm?
Too much.
Too much, he says. One of the funniest things I heard today, Ohio State calling Josh Simmons, the transfer from San Diego State, they're calling him Jimmy. Why? Because both of the tackles can't be named Josh, evidently. So that whenever both of them are around, they call him Jimmy. Cade Stover, we watched him, and we had a lot of intrigue about how's he going to respond to getting the same questions over and over. He ended his performance on that dais over there. So what was the thing that you took away from the last two games? And he said, we lost them. Right to the point. Can't argue with that. Ohio State doesn't need another reminder about what happened in the Peach Bowl or on November 26th of last year. They are ready to start going out there and proving themselves on the field, and that opportunity comes a week from tomorrow. Not a crazy amount of news from Ohio State. Thought it might be cool to bring back the notebook and start working through this on the podcast. We're going to hopefully do this for every game throughout the season. There's certainly going to be a lot more things for me to dive in from those games, and as we get into that, and we want to take you all year for some behind-the-scenes looks at how we're doing it, where we are. This is a bunch of dudes at a table and some fine female employees, of course, of Cover Sports. But it's talking season out here, and it's fun to be this close to football season, and we're going to start ramping up our content accordingly, and we hope that you enjoyed this look at it with the notebook. I want to do more of it, and I hope that you enjoy it. And until the next opportunity that I have, we'll see you next time, and I'll talk to you later.